Hey, it's Dr. Tartt. I saw the video, so let's dive into it. Submit or not to submit? That is the question. I want to show y'all a video and I want to get your thoughts, and then we're going to dive into should you submit or not? And if so, to whom and when?
Submissive woman do for her man?
Everything.
What does that mean?
Like packing his bag, unpacking his bag, just making sure all the things that he wants. And like I pretty much read his mind. So it's like if I know you and I study you, like I know how you are in the morning, I know how you are about midday, I know when you're in this mood, what you need. Like before you can ever ask me for something, I'm already on it. I mean, he's spoiled. And when I talk to my girlfriends about it, I was like, "Oh, how you guys doing?" And I'm just like, "Girl, he's rotten." I'm like, he's spoiled rotten. Like he's rotten. But I love that. Like I want him to be that. I think my biggest flex is how I treat my man. And I've been known to love people back to health. And sometimes it's very draining, but my love is my superpower. And I used to hate that about myself. But now it's like I'm just embracing it. Like that's who I am. Like if I love you, I can heal you.
It's your joy.
It is my joy. I love to see him eating the meal that I cooked. I love seeing him sleep easy. Every night, like clockwork, I scratch this man's back to sleep. And I know when he's asleep because I can tell when his breathing changes. And some people might think that's psychotic, but that's like, I just know that's when I'm like, oh, I can stop now. But I find joy in being your rest. So know what that means. And that works for us because he wants what I have to offer.
What are you getting?
I know y'all have some thoughts, right? So the first thing I noticed, all right, as a man, you like that, right? First thing I noticed, no ring. So when we start talking about submitting to a man who's not your husband, I just don't think you should do it. There's no biblical reference to it, right? Even when we get into real submission, healthy submission, it's not what you think. So the first thing I say, listen, if the man she's dating is pouring into her equally, this is great. If he's scratching her back to sleep, or he's standing by the door to make sure she's protected, if someone has broken into her house and staying up all night, if he's honoring her dreams and wishes, they have a dope relationship because they are honoring one another. But if she's doing all that for him, and he's doing significantly less or nothing, that is a toxic relationship. And I think that's what she might have been referring to, is that she hated that before, that love was her superpower, because it wasn't. She falls in love. And how many of you, and men too, how many of you fall so deeply you give it your all? Chances are, if you're a helper or a healer, this is what you do. You just say this, I'm gonna present the best version of me, and you just receive it, because that's, I'm gonna give you all. Right. And if you're with someone that has appreciation for that and is mutually going to pour into you, you have a great relationship. But how many of you have been in that relationship? I think it's every healer or helper, right, has had to peel back and have boundaries and conditions. There are conditions to this, right? Because otherwise you're going to be in a toxic relationship, right? And why? It's because you're in what's called social exchange theory, right? So social exchange theory says cost benefit analysis. Like, I'm trying to get in a relationship to get the best deal, like negotiating. If I screw you out of money and I get the best deal, that's what I'm trying to do. And if you're in a relationship with someone who's self-absorbed or selfish, that's exactly what they're gonna do. Right. I'm just gonna keep it real. Now, here's another perspective I want you to see, and I want to get your thoughts on this. I want to get your thoughts on someone else's, because I think it's good to be able to see what another person feels about this. Let's discuss it.
It's painfully obvious why
The
men love the
idea of a
idea of a
submissive
submissive
woman.
woman.
Submissive, per its definition, is ready to conform to the authority or will of others. The prefix sub means under. Think of subpar, submarine. In short, your world is under his. Now, there seems to be a theme here. Good girls versus bad girls. A lock that can be opened with many keys is a broken lock. And if you can't submit to a man, you're going to die alone. So my question to men is, do you want perfect Polly? A puppet? A prisoner? Or a partner who has no problem overtly challenging you? King treatment and knowing your partner's love languages, that's one thing. Being submissive is a whole nother thing. It's its own thing. If you find yourself abandoning your wants, needs, desires to make something work, I'm here to tell you It was never a match to begin with.
Hey, there's truth to some of that, most of that, right? I mean, she's keeping it real, right? So if you're in a relationship where it's about you being a prisoner, a slave, it's all about a man, you are in an abusive relationship, right? And I'm not talking necessarily physically abusive, I'm talking about emotionally abusive. That's not what you want. That's not marriage, right? And so one of the things that I do along with my wife, right? And it's why we created a weekendforlove.com for couples and betterhusband, betterwife.com for people to see healthy marriages, right? Is that's not the actual definition of submission, right? Submission, people always talk about the part in the Bible where it says, husbands, wives, submit yourselves to your husbands. But you know what they never talk about? They never talk about the scripture that comes right before that, right? Are y'all looking at this? Submit to one another out of reverence for Christ. If you can see that, submit to one another out of reverence for Christ. And then it goes on. You can read it on your own to give conditions under which wives should submit to husbands, right? All right. And so if you go on and you read that, it's first of all, the man has to be submitted to God. Second of all, when I saw the first video, she did not have on a ring. She was not married. Right. So this doesn't even apply to any relationship where you should be submitted to any man or any partner outside of marriage. Right. But the definition is wrong from Brittany. All right. She's talking about a real Webster definition. She didn't make that up. All right. But real biblical, healthy dynamics is sub to the mission. So underneath the mission, so I am underneath supporting my wife's goals, ambitions, and desires and feelings, and she's underneath and supporting me, right? And also in that scripture, if you read Ephesians 5:21-33, she should only submit to me if I'm submitted to God. So therefore, she's never submitted to me; she's submitted to the God in me, who I serve. And the conditions for a husband is like you have to love your wife as you love yourself. If you're doing that, no woman has a problem with submission, right? And it's mutual submission. I'm going to submit to the talent because I'm secure. And there are married men out there who you don't see enough of, right? That submit to wherever the talent is. My wife is dope with negotiations. Why would I negotiate a deal if she's more talented, right? My wife is dope when it comes to praying, right? And so if someone asks us to pray, right, if they want the strongest prayer for their lives, she's gonna go first or last and whatever is more effective. Or she may go on her own and I may preach, or I may whatever, say nothing. You see what I'm saying? I may touch her back in the spirit. Now, how can I do that? I'm a secure man because I have been secured. Right. So one, I have a great relationship with my mom. And what I'm saying is that if you haven't had a great relationship with your mom, and that's why I don't want to pathologize these men that are controlling. They have trauma backgrounds. All right. Find a man who's controlling, narcissistic, or self-absorbed that had a dope relationship with his mom. They're going to be some, but they're going to be in the minority. All right. So when you think about it, the most crucial relationship is cross-gender. It's a dad to his daughter, and it is a mom to the son, because you expect the mom to be soft with the son. That's the nurturance. That's the intimacy. But the mom is absent. The mom was abusive. The mom was neglectful. That young man has to grow. He has to go uphill to get to a level of health and intimacy. Right. And so what you often have is a narcissist get with someone who also has a trauma background. Because think about it, for a narcissist to date someone else, she has to feel too little about herself, or he has to feel too little because of that cost benefit analysis I talked about in social exchange. If I'm going to say it's serve me, and you say don't worry, I'm not going to worry about me, I'm going to worry about you, something's off. It should be us serving one another. Ecclesiastes 4:9. Two are better than one, for they get better return for their labor. I want you to read Ecclesiastes 4:9-13. If you really want to get what it's all about, that triple braided cord where it's husband, wife, and God coming together to create mutual dreams, y'all. So listen, submission is not about slavery. Don't be afraid of the word submission, but make sure that it feels good. I agree with Brittany. You should not be losing your hopes, dreams, and ambitions and serving this man and not getting anywhere. Matter of fact, as a man, your biggest flex is how your wife is doing. Right? Your biggest flex as a couple is how you take turns or simultaneously building up one another for the good of the marriage, so that the Tartt brand is dope. Whatever your last name, it is dope. It's my season, your season, our season, whatever it is, so we can make this thing work, y'all. So I hope this helps. I hope y'all get into loving relationship, and I hope you all change the discourse around marriage to see that it can flourish when you're with someone who's happy and equally submitted to your vision. God bless.